Some of you surely were surprised I didn't mention it at all in my Raw review, but there was a reason for that because I wanted to do a short video about it on its own because I felt that this deserved it. And that, of course, I'm talking about is the big announcement on Monday's Raw, which had kind of already been leaked already, but that doesn't ruin it. It doesn't diminish it to me, is the fact that Scott Hall is the latest inductee into the 2014 WWE Hall of Fame class. And, I sit there and I'm looking at this class, man, and I'm like, wow, this is one crazy good Hall of Fame class, right along with 2005 is maybe the best ever. And definitely maybe from an individual standpoint, the most controversial. I mean, you've got Ultimate Warrior and his beef with Vince and the WWE over the years, Jake the Snake Roberts and all of his personal demons, Carlos Colon, people that know the history of professional wrestling know why there would be a lot of heat and animosity, and he would be a controversial inclusion. Lita would be a controversial inclusion. And Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, would be a controversial conclusion. But I don't care about all that ultimately. I think it's interesting. It makes for one of the more interesting Hall of Fame ceremonies that I'll ever want to watch. But it's about time. And it's good to see that the WWE went out of their way this year, it almost seems like, to rectify a lot of previous wrongs and make sure that they didn't give us a bunch of bullshit inductees. This was a big show. This was an important show. And they were going to give us a Hall of Fame class that measured up to that felt big, that was going to truly be an anticipated part, an exciting part of the WrestleMania weekend. I bet you there are a lot of people down in New Orleans that are maybe just as excited for the Hall of Fame ceremony on Saturday night as they are for WrestleMania 30 itself on Sunday, April 6th. It's Razor Ramon, one of those cool characters. And when I say cool, I don't mean to understate it or underemphasize it. I mean truly one of the coolest characters in the history of professional wrestling. I guess I ask this, and I know sometimes I come across the wrong way, but in this case, I don't really care. If you didn't like Razor Ramon, what in the fuck was wrong with you? This was a guy that oozed charisma. This was a guy that could talk on the mic. This was a guy that was a unique character. This was a guy that could sit there and go in the ring and have great matches. He had that look. He had everything to me. Razor Ramon, the quintessential cool character. When you think about those characters that are the coolest in the history of professional wrestling, right at the top of the list, beyond question to me, has to be Razor Ramon. And I know there are reasons why it took so long for him to finally get in, but my God, it feels good. It makes me feel a little old now, sure, too. But it feels good to know that Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, is getting his rightful place as a part of the 2014 WWE Hall of Fame class, and it is definitely a Hall of Fame speech that I am incredibly looking forward to hearing and seeing. Now, of course, it just wouldn't be professional wrestling, and a lot of you just wouldn't be professional wrestling fans if you didn't sit there and still find a reason to bitch about something. And let me make no mistake about this. There are plenty of times you could throw that accusation at me, and it's 100% accurate. You could sit there and say the Schleg Daddy's motto is arrive, bitch, leave, repeat. Arrive, bitch, leave, repeat. But what I don't understand here is Scott Hall is going into the Hall of Fame in some way, shape, or form, something that so many of you have been bitching about for so many years, and now you're still finding a reason to bitch about it. Well, why did they just induct Razor Ramon? Why didn't they show any of his Outsiders or NWO stuff? Why didn't they reference WCW in any way, shape, or form? This is stupid. This is bull. I can't believe they did this. No. Let's get this understood and put out on the table so everybody can understand this and there are no misperceptions or anything. The reasons that Scott Hall was inducted as Razor Ramon here in 2014 are a couple of fold. Number one, it ties into the WWE Network and emphasizing that portion of the video library, similar as to why a Carlos Colon would be inducted into this year's Hall of Fame. Same reason an Ultimate Warrior and a Jake the Snake Roberts were inducted this year. It's about plugging different parts of the video library on the WWE Network. Number two, this was about providing that last big name for the 2014 Hall of Fame weekend. You had the two real headliners in Jake the Snake and the Ultimate Warrior, and now they made the sandwich, and the other bun here on the WWE Hall of Fame Big Mac, if you will, was freaking Razor Ramon. And number three, keep this in mind, that if you induct Razor Ramon now, at some point in time that leaves the avenue open to still induct Scott Hall, either with his buddy Kevin Nash and the Outsiders, if you wanted to do the Click, which I would doubt they would do, or if you wanted to do what they will probably do either next year or a couple years down the road, and that is induct the NWO into the WWE Hall of Fame. I understand where the confusion came in, and I understand where people were surprised, but the fact that people were upset about this and people were bitching about it, I'm like, oh my fucking God. For so many years you've been bitching about one of the biggest snubs for the WWE Hall of Fame was Scott Hall, and understandably so, because you were right. And now people are still finding a reason to bitch about it. Arrive, bitch, leave, repeat. I swear to God, that seems to be the formula for all of us at times here on the internet that talk about wrestling. Think about it this way. Now we've gone from wondering if and when Scott Hall would ever get into the WWE Hall of Fame in any way, shape, or form, to now their avenue has been opened up to find more than one way to induct him into the WWE Hall of Fame. I would think for so many of you here on the internet that praise Scott Hall, that love Scott Hall so much, and rightfully so, one of the most talented performers I've ever seen, and one of the coolest performers I've ever seen, with Razor Ramon being one of the great characters I've ever seen, and when he became Scott Hall, one of the realest, most genuine, in a sense of being able to connect with him on a real basis, characters. Now we're talking about he's got multiple avenues into the WWE Hall of Fame. If you don't like that they only inducted him as Razor Ramon, shut the fuck up! He's going in again. I would think that would be great news. That would be ecstatic. All these years we waited for Scott Hall to get this recognition, and now he's going to have multiple times of being in the WWE Hall of Fame, and he deserves it. They induct the Razor Ramon character to plug the WWE Network, give us another headliner for the Hall of Fame weekend, and now at some point in time, whether it be next year, the year after, whenever, it's going to happen sometime soon, rest assured. Scott Hall is going to go in, probably with Hogan and Nash and maybe a couple of others as part of the NWO. If anything, the news that he was being inducted just as Razor Ramon should give all of you chubbers. I mean, Scott Hall goes from all these years of being snubbed and looking like he might never get in the damn WWE Hall of Fame, especially when he's alive, to now, not only is he hopefully going to be alive for this year's ceremony, but he'll be alive another year, 2 or 3 down the road to be inducted again. I think that's great news. And it's a real reason to mark out, if you will. And it's a real reason for once for people to sit there and stop their bitching about something. Seriously. Say hello to the bad guy. God, he was fucking cool. I can't wait to hear his speech, and it's going to bring a big smile on my face and make me feel all warm and fuzzy inside to see Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, as part of the 2014 WWE Hall of Fame ceremony, Saturday, April 5th, live on the WWE Network. That right there, along with Warrior and Jake the Snake, those are 3 speeches you're not going to want to miss, and I guarantee you, I will be watching live on the WWE Network, assuming it works.